Welcome to the podcast, Let the Prophet Speak. Today we are going to complete our study of the book of Esther, and we're going to study a very short chapter, which is chapter 10. Afterwards, I'll say a little bit about what we're going to do next after Esther, because this is a very short chapter. Um, we just learned how the Jewish people in the kingdom of Persia were saved from a decree of genocide, how they were able to defend themselves, and how the holiday of Purim was established uh, to commemorate that wonderful salvation from their enemies, and that the holiday was established as one of generosity, of giving gifts to friends and giving charity to the poor. So the little this chapter is only 3 verses, and it's kind of a little bit of an epilogue, you know, kind of like a happily ever after a few verses. Vayasam Hamelach Achashverosh. So now the king Achashverosh then placed mas a tax ala aretz upon the land and the far off islands that were part of his kingdom. So what it's saying here is that the king Ahasuerus, who had now finally recognized who the true loyal citizens were, and after had elevated Mordechai to a high position and Esther to was his queen, he became a stronger king and his kingdom was strengthened. If you want to know more about Ahasuerus' history, that all of the actions of his strength and his power of his kingdom, and also if you want to know the description of the greatness of his second in command, Mordechai Asher Gidlo Hamelach, that the king had raised Mordechai up in his kingdom, raised him to our position. Aloim Kesuvim, they're all written down. I'll say for Divrei Hayamim in the book of Chronicles, L'Malchei Madai Paras, for the kings of the kingdom of Media and Persia, which was all one kingdom, generally known as the kingdom of Persia. So if you want to read more about Achashverosh and Mordechai, look at the history books. Ki Mordechai HaYehudi, because Mordechai the Jew became Mishneh, the second in command, Lamelech Achashverosh, to the king Achashverosh, V'gadol Yehudim, and he was considered great among the Jewish people, V'ratzui l'rov echav, and he was very much well liked by the the many the many people that constituted his brethren. Doresh Tov the Amo, he was constantly doing the best he could for his nation. Vidover Shalom L'chol Zaro, and he was always speaking peace. In other words, he spoke in order to make sure to get peace and achieve peace for all of those that were members of his um, extended family, all of his Jewish brethren. This completes the book of Esther, and the last verse there explains how Mordechai became a great leader, and how he interceded on the behalf of his brethren. This entire book happened during the time of King Ahasuerus. Like I said in the beginning, we are not 100% certain as to exactly which Persian king that was. Some identify him with Xerxes, some with Artaxerxes, which are different members of the Persian kingdom. After this book, I plan on going back to the Treasar, the 12 minor prophets. We have already done the first 9, and we are about to study the last 3. And the reason why I took a break and went off and studied the book of Daniel, the book of Ezekiel, and the book of Esther is because those 3 books are about and occurred during the time period between the destruction of the first temple and the building of the second temple. Now, as the story of Esther that we just read may have occurred probably occurred, if Ahasuerus is Xerxes or Artaxerxes, then it actually occurred after the second temple had already the beginning time period. It was already started to be built, because Xerxes actually came after Cyrus, who was the Cyrus the Great, who was the Persian king who allowed the Jews to start going back to Israel and start the rebuilding of the second temple. However, even if the story of Esther did occur when the second temple was in the beginning stages of its building, it is still presented as a story that occurred during the exile in Persia. So therefore, I I wanted to study the book of Esther as a little snapshot of Jewish life during the time period when they were exiled under the thumb of the Persian kingdom. The next book that we're going to read then is Haggai, is the prophet Haggai, who was one of the early prophets who accompanied the Jews as they came back to the land of Israel and began the rebuilding of the Second Temple. So the next book we're going to study together then is Haggai. Looking forward to studying the book of Haggai together, and then after that, the books of Zechariah, and Malachi, who are the last three prophets of the Jewish people, the final three prophets, all of whom said their prophecies during the early years of the building of the Second Temple. Thank you so much for studying the book of Esther together. It's been a pleasure studying together with all of you. Looking forward to studying Haggai together, and of course, many more books until we complete the study of the entire Nevi'im and Ketuvim, all the prophets and the writings. Um, and, um, and of course, maybe after that, we'll do it all again. Thank you so much.